Hello, lovelies. It is me from the future. Obviously, we know by the title of this video, obviously I am autistic, but I figured I would kind of frame out the video for you because I was watching it back while I was editing it and I was like, this doesn't make a lot of sense. So the first half of this video is me talking about like signs and symptoms of autism and everything like that. And then the second half of the video is my experience with getting the diagnosis itself. But before we get into that, here's a PSA from a fellow autistic person and a little bit of a rant from me.
One of the most insulting things you can say to an autistic person is that everyone's a little autistic, since it's a spectrum. To which I always respond, okay, if it's a spectrum, then where do you fall on it? And that makes those people very angry, because apparently they don't actually want to be special.
I've seen plenty of people online spout this kind of harmful rhetoric, so I figured I would explain it a little bit to people who may not understand. This kind of rhetoric is so harmful to actual autistic people because in the grand scheme of things, let's just say in the US, for example, about 30% of people in the United States are neurodivergent. Only 1 to 2.2% of those people are autistic. So by you saying that everybody's a little bit autistic, not only are you misconstruing what autism actually looks like, but you are watering it down to the point where people who do like normal things are labeling it as, oh, I'm overstimulated, I'm going nonverbal, misusing terms to where we as actual autistic people have to find new terms because everybody is gentrifying everything.
Regurgitating TikTok audios because you're on the internet for 12 hours a day is not a vocal stim. For some reason, the internet is really obsessed with autism right now. And as someone with autism, I just find it so strange and so bizarre because I have vocal stims. I always have. And I make like guinea pig noises. I go like... And the point of a vocal stim is like a self-regulation thing. It helps me calm down. I don't know why. That's just what it does. And like, I saw this video of someone saying, making my dad read our vocal stims. And it was just like brain rot. I'm like, what? Same with when people say that they're going nonverbal. This actually kind of pisses me off. Shutting up for 1 second does not mean you're going nonverbal. I have had issues with like genuinely being nonverbal and not being able to speak since I was younger, but also when I'm an adult, it's embarrassing and I hate it. It's like so frustrating when I'm in situations. If I'm stressed or I don't know, something happens with me emotionally, I physically can't speak even though I want to. And I feel like I don't know how to explain it. It's just the most frustrating thing ever. And I don't know, it's just, I go nonverbal so I can stim and talk about my special interest and be neurospicy. Like, guys, it's okay to be normal. It is okay to be normal and it's okay to not have autism.
Whether you're intending to or not, you're making it harder for actual autistic people to be taken seriously. Listen, I get that TikTok has made, autism a little bit trendy and things like that. It does not mean that everybody's autistic. It does not mean that you need to be using words that are specifically for autistic people to label normal things that you are doing.
I had a conversation with this girl and she was telling me that she's just, really irritated because she's been to 5 doctors, like 5 or 6 doctors. And she keeps trying to tell them that she has autism and they're like, you don't have autism. She's just getting so mad about it. And I was like, if you've gone to that many doctors and they're saying that you don't have it, like, do you just think that there's a chance that you just don't have it? And she was just getting so frustrated. She's like, no, like, I know that I have it. I know what I feel. I know what's going on. And I'm like, okay, well, what makes you think that you have autism? Like, some doctors really are just fucking stupid and don't diagnose people properly. Like, what's going on? She was like, she said, well, I'm socially awkward and I have communication issues. And I was like, okay, keep going. She's like, no, that's it. And I'm like, Shawty, that doesn't mean that you're autistic. Yes, those things can happen when you have autism. That doesn't mean that you are autistic.
It's a problem when people need to change or reconstruct what autism is in order to fit their narrative. Too many people try to redefine autism so that it better fits to their personal experiences. And if you have to do all this work to redefine and reconstruct something just so that it makes sense to you, just so that you feel that you relate to it, then you're probably not autistic. So much toxic positivity is injected into these narratives that autistic people don't struggle with communication, or that we're the normal ones and everyone else is disordered, or that autism isn't a disability, or that it's only a disability because of society. These narratives, all they do is completely disregard the very real experiences and struggles that autistic people have to deal with every day. I just think it's sad that these narratives exist purely for the sake of making people feel better about themselves while completely disregarding the very real struggles and disability that autism is.
This also goes along with the whole ADHD and autism are the exact same disorder. That is absolutely not true. I can see why a lot of people would assume that they would be the exact same disorder, or at least so similar to where you could think that one person, if they have ADHD, they automatically have autism, because there is a lot of overlapping traits. However, your brain is reacting to the information differently for different reasons. That is why they are not the same disorder.
How can you tell the difference between autism spectrum disorder, ASD, and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD? That's what I'm talking about today. I'm Dr. Tracy Marks, a psychiatrist, and I make mental health education videos. It is common if you have one to have another one. In fact, there's a high prevalence of people with autism spectrum who also have ADHD. The reverse is not as common for people with ADHD to also have ASD, but people with ADHD can have features of autism spectrum without having the complete disorder. There's a lot of overlap between ASD and ADHD. The person who only has ADHD may have a few of these features, but not all. The person with ASD will have a functional functional change in all of the areas to some degree, and they may or may not have problems with attention, impulsivity, and hyperactivity, which are problems that come along with ADHD. People with ADHD and ASD both have executive dysfunction, like being oblivious to time, emotional dysregulation, and trouble getting things started. Both people with ADHD and ASD also have trouble picking up on social cues, but for different reasons. The ADHD person may miss social cues because of trouble paying attention to the entire conversation, or hijacking the conversation topic by interrupting and going off on a tangent. On the other hand, the person with ASD may have social interaction problems because they don't understand the subtext messages from body language, or they may get overwhelmed with the sensory demands of chit-chatting. Also, the person, or if the person thinks very literally, they may miss important social signals or subtle messages. So you can see the difference in the reasoning behind the problems, even though the end result is similar. Sometimes people can mistake stimming behavior for hyperactivity, like shaking your legs or feet under a desk or fidgeting. The difference comes from the reason behind the activity. The person with ADHD may fidget to help them focus, even though it may be also calming and soothing. The person with ASD, if asked, will usually tell you that something in the environment is making them uncomfortable and they need to fidget to feel better. Or the behavior can be so automatic that they can't always tell you that there's something bothering them, they just need to do the behavior. Also with ASD, it's usually not random fidgeting, like clicking a pen top or doodling. It tends to be more intense with a repetitive pattern, like rocking. A difference between ADHD and ASD is with ADHD, you seek out novel and new experiences and you can become bored with routine. But with ASD, you're comforted by familiarity and routine. As for autism spectrum, the symptoms appear when children aren't meeting their developmental milestones, like they're still wearing a diaper in first grade, or have social communication problems, or intense meltdowns from sensory overload. These children will usually come to the attention of a pediatrician or maybe a child therapist to be evaluated and diagnosed early. But without obvious problematic behaviors, you may go undetected or undiagnosed until adulthood with ASD. One of the problems with getting diagnosed is the variability in the presentations, and doctors aren't trained as well to notice the subtle signs. I don't recommend trying to diagnose yourself based on learning things on the internet. However, if you are curious if you may have some autism spectrum traits that someone missed, I'll have some online screening tools listed in the description, and they're freely available. If you print out the results, you can have some good talking points for the clinician. And if they don't think that you have the disorder, they can explain the discrepancy between your answers and their clinical impression, and they can help you understand why they don't think you have the disorder.
I mentioned this a little bit later in the video, but just because something has a high comorbidity rate, meaning that they get diagnosed at the same time or together, does not mean they're the exact same disorder. For an example, right, a lot of people have depression and anxiety, and most people get diagnosed with depression and anxiety together. But we would not say that depression and anxiety are now the exact same disorder just because they have a high comorbidity rate, right? So why are we doing that with other disorders? There are things like CPTSD, OCD, ADHD that can mimic the symptoms of autism. It does not automatically make you autistic just because you have one or the other. I promise I'm going to shut up and we're going to get into the video, but a quick reminder, autism is not cute or quirky. The main symptom of autism is struggling socially, and we as human beings are social creatures by nature. So you can see how detrimental that would be. You feel like an alien. You feel like you're failing at life because I can't connect socially. I don't know how to. It's not, oh, I don't know what to say sometimes in a certain conversation. It's genuinely being lost constantly. I don't have any idea what's going on. I went to eat out with my family yesterday, right, at a restaurant. I wasn't even engaging in like half of the conversation. I can't hang out with my family a lot. I have to take breaks. After every single situation, I have to go and self-isolate for hours because my brain genuinely can't comprehend it. I don't know how to respond to people. I can't make friends because I don't know how to. These are the actual symptoms, okay? Not occasional, it is constant. There is no break. You can't turn it off. Please stop manic pixie dream girling autism because you want to feel like you're, quirky or something. It's so annoying. It genuinely makes me so upset.
I'm gonna say something that might hurt your feelings. The TikTokification of autism needs to stop. Almost every single day on this app, I see people who take typical and innately human experiences and they ascribe them to the autistic profile. Why are we doing this? Feeling socially awkward or occasionally having uncomfortable encounters with people. Not always knowing the exact right thing to say. Preferring routine. Having habits, just like human habits. Liking to sing or finding a specific phrase funny is somehow always a vocal stim now. God forbid someone is quirky or has a unique interest. Commenting on a creator's profile that they have autism because they possess one of these things is a gross oversimplification of autism. Sharing our lived experiences is an incredibly valuable tool, and at the same time, it shouldn't be used as clinical insight.
And this is one of those things that I myself have to own up to because I have done this before. I've been like talking to people and been like, oh, haha, you probably have autism. You probably don't. You probably do not. I am not a doctor. I cannot diagnose you with anything. Peer-reviewed autism means nothing. And I think this leads back to the TikTokification of autism as well, because we like to oversimplify a lot of things and how we view certain things. Like the term overstimulation I've heard all the time on TikTok.
Today's been like a million years long. I'm so overstimulated. I know, I'm in like so much pain right now. What? Yeah, I'm really overstimulated. I'm in a lot of pain, because like overhead lights are so bright that they're hurting me, and there's like several different electrical things humming over the top of each other, and like people's layered ambient voices, and the cold air on my skin from the vents. I physically want to peel my skin off. It hurts to exist right now. Is that not what you're experiencing? No, I just like have a lot to do, and I'm kind of like I don't know, just like overstimulated about it all. Do you mean overwhelmed? Yeah, overwhelmed, overstimulated. It's the same thing. No.
Or like hyperfixation. Oh, I've been playing this new game every day for 2 weeks. It's my new hyperfixation. That's not what the word hyperfixation means. Okay. In the diagnostic criteria, it says, say it with me, abnormal in intensity. A hyperfixation is something that takes away from your daily activities. It stops you from working. It stops you from taking care of yourself. And we use it as a way to regulate our emotions. So it can get to the point where you slack on hygiene. You know, you haven't like left the house in a few days. You haven't taken a shower in a few days. You haven't, fed yourself in a few days. It's severe. That's what I'm trying to say. The symptoms of autism have to be severe enough to be diagnosed. Not I do this thing once in a while. It has to be severe enough to meet the diagnostic criteria. And if you do not meet that criteria, then you are not autistic, point blank.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
But Rat, I hear you cry into the void. Where do I start? If you suspect that you have autism or you just want to learn more about it, or maybe a family member has it, listen, I got you, okay? First thing you're going to do is watch YouTube videos, specifically from autistic creators, their signs, their symptoms, and watch a lot of videos on the DSM-5 and what the IC-11 says are the signs and symptoms of autism. If you relate to those, then you're going to go over to the Embrace Autism website, which is what I did. You're going to take these tests, which I think is all of the tests that they might have. Don't quote me on that, but I think as many as I could find that were related to autism, except for the ASRS. That one's more ADHD. But here are the tests I took. These are my scores, and these are the minimum requirements of like, hey, you might have autism actually. As you can see, I was a little higher than average. So with that, I was like, okay, I'm pretty certain I have this. I've done all the research. I literally became a hyperfixation for me. I've been doing research for like the last 6 years. Okay. Next, you have to figure out what kind of assessment you want. I went with a company called Prosper Health specifically because they offered online assistance, because I don't want to have to talk to people. And I've heard horror stories about in-person assessments where they're like, take a book and a toothpick and a straw and make a situation, make a story. I'm not doing that. A lot of the in-person assessments are like geared towards children. And I'm 26 years old. I don't need that. This is not an ad, by the way, or anything. This is just the company that I went with because it was the cheapest option. It was $950 out of pocket because my insurance was out of network. Okay, if your insurance is in network, it might cover some of it or not any of it. I don't know. So I specifically made sure that I had a Black therapist who was also a woman. That way I wouldn't have the medical gaslighting that happens a lot of the times. Hello. I'm popping in because I foresee it in my mind, the questions that I might get. The main one being, well, why now? I feel like two main reasons. I didn't really think about autism at all, because the way that autism is portrayed in the media, right, is like people who are really only like higher support needs, or it's like the absolute genius who's just amazing at everything, years beyond his grade level, and he's in like college by the age of 15, and also whatever this was.
I am a surgeon. I am a surgeon.
And because of that, I didn't know really anything about autism until I didn't start looking into it until like 2020, 2021. And because of my ignorance of autism, like a lot of people, I assumed that if it wasn't quote unquote severe, that I didn't really have anything. I think it's also important to point out that I grew up in a time where Autism Speaks was like the main representation of autistic kids. And do you remember that horrible I Am Autism ad that they did like a really long time ago? Like there was literally an interview of a lady saying she wanted to drive her and her child off of a bridge and into like drown in a river or something because her child was severely autistic.
I am autism. I'm visible in your children, but if I can help it, I am invisible to you until it's too late. I know where you live, and guess what? I live there too. I hover around all of you. I know no color barrier, no religion, no morality, no currency. I speak your language fluently, and with every voice I take away, I acquire yet another language. I work very quickly. I work faster than pediatric AIDS, cancer, and diabetes combined. And if you are happily married, I will make sure that your marriage fails.
I will leave the full video in the description if you're curious. It's genuinely fucking awful though. All that to say, it never even really crossed my mind. I genuinely just thought I was like the world's biggest introvert, to be honest with you. But now, obviously, I know there is a big difference between introversion and autism. So, yay me, learning it 27 years too late. It also is not lost on me that most of the representation that we do have for autistic people are all white. So every day has been a struggle with my brain and a constant battle all throughout my childhood of trying to understand social cues, social situations, friendships, forced self-isolation, and sensory overload. I just didn't have the words to describe what I was feeling at the time. And if a diagnosis helps me to understand myself and helps me to improve my quality of life, then why not, you know? So I am about to set up an appointment for my 2 assessments. They're going to be 2 separate 90-minute sessions. It's not necessarily a safe decision, but it's a decision that I'm not going to be bullied out of making now that I have the finances to be able to afford the test. You know what I mean? Nobody's going to fearmonger me out of my identity and kiss my ass. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it right now. You can't see it, but it says book therapy and book assessments. I'm nervous. Yeah, real nervous.
I have 15 minutes before my appointment and I'm kind of freaking out because I checked my emails like all last night. I didn't sleep last night because I had an asthma attack, as it goes. And yeah, I'm just really nervous. I don't like talking to people on the phone in general, so this is a lot for me. Okay. And I've been watching like videos and stuff nonstop about like what the process is going to be like because I'm an anxious being and I need to know. I have about 13 minutes until my appointment, so I guess I don't really have anything else to say as of right now. So I guess I'll see you after with my thoughts. He wants to say hi to you. Say hi, Bugaboo. Oh my god. That's so funny. Okay.
So I totally forgot that I was supposed to do a little after of the first appointment. So the first appointment was basically just going over, I'd say like 90% of it was just like childhood stuff. And then we kind of got into a little bit of the assessment stuff, but not really anything much important. That didn't make sense. So it was basically just like, what was your childhood like? Do you have suicidal ideations? Do you have this? Do you have anxiety? Do this and that? And that was basically it. And then, whilst I was getting ready for my second appointment, something very unfortunate happened.
Oh my gosh. And it said appointment canceled again. Like, are we fucking serious?
So it was at this point where I think it was like maybe an hour or so before my second appointment, which was on the Monday, my therapist actually canceled on me. And as you can tell, I was having a little bit of a meltdown. I'm not going to show you the entirety of my meltdown because nobody needs to see that. But the thing that frustrated me the most, as I was saying here, is that you can check on your computer or on your phone. And it said that there was no upcoming appointments and that I couldn't reschedule. And it actually took me reaching out to this specific therapist for them to say anything, which I think is what frustrated me the most because I was just waiting for hours, waiting for somebody to respond to something that wasn't my fault, you know? So there's that.
Like, it's so annoying. Like, she said, the person that I'm seeing said, see you Monday. They emailed me saying, see you Monday. They put in my little thing in the message box, see you Monday. So like, what? It's been like 20 minutes. Having a little cry or whatever. Probably gonna go cry again, I don't know. It won't let me do anything. It won't let me set up anything else. It won't let me do anything. So I'm like panicking because I don't know what to do. I just want it to tell me what to do. There's nothing that says like reschedule here or do this. There's just nothing there. So I don't know what is happening. And that's like, I had this plan of what I was going to do today and now the plan is messed up and now I don't feel like I can do anything else because, but it's just like, I'm so like overwhelmed and my hands are tingling and I just like,
I feel like I should explain it a little bit better, maybe. To most people, it would seem like I'm just overreacting or like I'm just slightly upset about something. When I say that I cut out the majority of my meltdown, I do mean like the bad parts. Like, I think people think that meltdowns are just being slightly upset about something, the same way you'd get frustrated if, like, I don't know, you're in traffic and you really need to be somewhere and you're like, fuck's sake. No, like, autistic meltdowns are like screaming, crying, throwing things, hitting yourself like multiple times, and it can last for hours. And I think people downplay a lot of autistic symptoms because for some reason it's been trendy the last few years, and people who don't know that much, if anything, about it are just kind of cosplaying as autistic people for some reason. It's already hard enough to have medium to lower support needs people to be represented, but we're not taken seriously because people misuse terms, they misinterpret what autism actually is. You can have autistic symptoms, autistic traits, and not be autistic because autistic traits are human traits. It's the severity and the frequency of which you deal with those traits, along with the DSM 5, or like I think it's called IC11 criteria. That's when you're autistic. It's not fun to be autistic. It's not fun to not be able to hang out with people, and when you do, you finally get like the energy and the courage to hang out with people. You have to take days to recover afterwards. That's not fun. It's not fun to have meltdowns like this, screaming and throwing things and hitting yourself because your routine gets messed up. It's not fun to feel less than human because you can't communicate with people properly, because you genuinely just do not understand how to socialize. You feel like everybody else was given a guidebook on how to make friends, on how to keep those friends, on how to like maintain these really like tight-knit friendships, and you can't do it. That's not fun. And it's incredibly frustrating to see people who have no idea what they're talking about misinterpret and misrepresent what autism is, because people like that make it so much harder for people like me and every other autistic person to be taken seriously. Have like a part of your life's experience potentially being answered, looming over your head, and then having it just stripped away from you after waiting years to be able to afford an appointment like this is incredibly frustrating, which is why to some people it may look like I'm overreacting. And yes, it is a privilege to be able to get a diagnosis and to be upset about my diagnosis being pushed back a few weeks, but it's still valid. My feelings are still valid and my frustration is still valid. So it's July 3rd, and it's 3:40 almost. My second appointment is today in 20 minutes. I was trying to get everything prepared. If you've seen some of the other clips, which you probably have, I put makeup on and I put effort in. I have been way too overstimulated the last 2 days, and I've just started to come out of it a little bit today. I can't be bothered. I can't be bothered to put anything on my face. Okay. He's so concerned. Yesterday was my second evaluation assessment thingy, and it was a little weird. I don't know if it was because it was the time of day. I did get my period yesterday. Maybe that was it. But the last few days, I've just felt completely like drained and unmotivated, and like I just can't get myself to do anything. I can't really tell how the assessment went. I wouldn't say it was bad, I guess. I don't know, but I wouldn't say it was good either. I guess I'm just kind of confused because it didn't go how I thought it would go. It was kind of like she was just reading off of DSM-5 criteria, like very specific ones, and was just like, do you do this? Do you do that? Do you do this? Or do you do that? And I was like, I felt like I was just saying the same thing over and over and over again. So like I had like personal experiences that I was going to mention, but she didn't even ask about any of that. Human interaction is already hard for me. This is not helpful. I don't know. I guess I'll update you next Friday for my results. So she said that based off of everything that I said and everything that my auntie said and everything that my grandpa said in the evaluation and in their parts of my evaluation,
hello, Papa, that an autism diagnosis is very reasonable. So I'm gonna get my report in 2 weeks. She said I'm a level 1, obviously. Low support needs. There you go. I have autism. This therapist was really nice and really accommodating and really friendly, and I appreciate everything that she did. So, out here changing lives, girl. So yeah, if I have anything else, then I will add it. If not, that's all I have for this video. Thank you for coming with me on this journey. If you liked it, then good for you, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.
If you would like for me to make an update video, because I got diagnosed last year in June, I think. If you would like me to make an update video on everything that I've learned and what's changed since my diagnosis, I can do that. But other than that, that's all I have for this video. If you like this video, then good for you, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.
I love you. Bye.